What kind of culture can we imagine for America and the world in the future when an entire generation which has been seduced by moral relativism comes of age?
It's a very frightening picture. Imagine in the purely external world, if people begin to give up on the decimal system, on the standards that are used for measurements, whether it is for building physical structures or social structures. Imagine
if we just pulled mathematics out of our life.
Not maths, but you begin to compromise with the maths.
Okay.
If you begin to compromise with the measurement system, and instead of taking an absolute standard, you begin to compromise here and there, everything begins to collapse. You cannot trust the system anymore. You cannot trust the building. You cannot trust the electronics.
The mode of transportation.
You cannot trust anything,
because
it can collapse, it can kill you, it can destroy you any minute.
Yeah, very interesting.
The same thing happens with the standards of how society arrange themselves. We don't have the best, we don't have the perfect moral standards. We don't have them yet. But the wise men of the past, Plato, Aristotle, Jesus, whether you call him the Son of God or a prophet, the Prophet Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, Zoroaster, all those great masters of the past and those who follow them were able to give us an approximation to perfect measurements in how society should arrange themselves. What Rousseau called the social contract. It was out of the masters that they came to these approximations. They're not perfect, but these are the measurements through which society arranges itself, and you build a family, you build a community, you build a nation. They're not perfect, but it's the best we have. If you give it up and you replace them with man-made values, some person, quote unquote, enlightened from Harvard or from Princeton or from Louvain
or from wherever,
and we replace these timeless values for man-made ones, you got a big problem. Because you cannot trust that society. That society will crash as the building will collapse. That bridge will collapse, as well as those families will not withstand, and those communities will not stand, and those nations will not stand.
Well, many people liken America, to Rome, ancient Rome, and obviously Rome collapsed under a similar type of situation. So the moral values.
They began to adopt this moral relativism. Moral relativism is not new. It's been with us since time immemorial. And whenever they adopt that kind of view of themselves, of the invisible world, God, the myths that sustain them, the eternal life, the spiritual world, whenever they adopted this kind of views and incorporated in their daily lives, in their behavior, those societies collapse. It's a fact that you can study in how the ancient world, the ancient civilizations collapse.
Very clear. Thank you very much. Do you feel that religions have any power to reverse this process, and if so, how?
At this moment, religions don't have the power because they do not have the power individually. What you need to convene is the collective power of religion, because religion has been the recipient of a language, a lexicon, a language of the heart, a language that is not science, is not scientific, is not military, is not political. It's the language of the heart, is the language of the immanent, of the invisible, but is the most consequential for the visible corporeal world. Only through religion you can define fidelity. And there is not 2 or 3 understandings, there is one. Whether you ask the Hindu or the Jew or the Christian, there is only one understanding. What is fidelity? What is filial piety? What is honesty? What is selflessness? And the language goes on. We can create a whole dictionary of things that belong to the invisible world. It belongs to the language of the heart, the language in which people since ancient times had communicated, had arranged society so they don't go at each other's throats. So the idea that mine is mine and yours is also mine if I can take it away from you by legal means as they do today. The idea that there is no absolute concepts of innocence versus guilty, but there is only winners and losers. The concepts of innocence versus guilt are rooted in ancient text revered by civilizations. As civilizations begin to give up those ancient concepts and replace them with man-made, that society will collapse. So religion has to come together and agree on what is universal, shared values. That what is true, considered true in the high plateau of Bolivia is considered true in Harvard. What is considered true in the Borneo of people who are still living in Stone Age or in the Amazonia is true in Oxford. It's true by the learned and the unlearned. It's true by the Hindus and the Baha'is and the Jews who follow the Torah and the Jews who are secular. We need a standard of truths, of verities that everybody can adhere and can help to create a family, worldwide family, a global family, a set of truths that will parallel the sets of scientific discoveries that are creating the modern world, the global world, the globalization. Religions individually cannot do. They need to come together.